So we've got the two remaining Scottish clubs in Europe playing against their opponents tonight and tomorrow night, of course. The penultimate games for each of them, and both have a really good chance of qualifying. However, of course, we know that Hearts had a tremendous chance of qualifying, and yet they managed to not qualify. In fact, they finished 25th in the table when they needed to finish in the top 24 to be able to get that place in the next round. So nothing is guaranteed, even if it seems like it. So we're going to not only predict the results for both games, but we're also going to predict, to the best of our ability, the lineups for both games for the for the Scottish teams, not necessarily the home teams in each fixture. So starting off with the first one. Tonight, of course, it says tomorrow when I took the screenshot for it. Celtic versus Young Boys. The best chance that Celtic have had to qualify for the next stage of the Champions League in a long, long time. Of course, Celtic haven't done that since the season that they beat Barcelona at Celtic Park 2-1. With the way that results went in the Champions League last night, it looks like that 10 points wouldn't be enough for Celtic at this stage, or potentially wouldn't be enough. So a win is extremely important in this game, and to mean that you wouldn't need to take anything out of the game from Aston Villa potentially. 12 points might not even be enough with the way that it's going, but we'll see how it goes. I think most of the simulations say that 12 points is enough, though. And from the way that both teams have played, not just in the Champions League this season, but domestically, you would say that Celtic should feel pretty confident about getting a win against Young Boys tonight. In their last 5 competitive games, Young Boys have only won 2 of them. In their last Champions League game, they got absolutely destroyed. And of course, Young Boys have also won of a number of teams that have not won any games in the Champions League this season, and not even drawn. So Celtic should feel confident going into it. Young Boys, it's interesting, how they're going to approach the game. Of course, Slovan Bratislava, even though they're out, approached the game against Stuttgart yesterday relatively positively. I think they wanted to get their first ever Champions League points on the board. Young Boys, of course, have been in the Champions League before and have had points on the board. So now they're out. It will be interesting to see. They're having an absolutely terrible domestic campaign. So if they do want to improve on that, do they want to risk any players in the Champions League to injury? Are they wanting to get a little bit of pride back in the Champions League? I don't know how they're going to approach this game. We'll see what happens, obviously, tonight with it. But Celtic, regardless of which Young Boys team goes out there, should feel confident of a win. But we know the whole Celtic in Europe argument where they could bottle it right at the very end after getting themselves into a good position. I don't see that happening personally. It might be a nervy affair, but I don't see that happening personally. I am going to predict a 2-0 Celtic win in this game, and let's get to the Celtic lineup. So I used obviously lineup 11 for it. They didn't have any of the hoops for it, so I just went for the next best thing. So of course, in goal, we have the mainstay of the season, Kasper Schmeichel. Really good first season so far at Celtic. One trophy in the bag already. Really good Champions League campaign. Most clean sheets in the league, so he's having a good time of it at Celtic overall. I think he's definitely been an upgrade on Joe Hart. He's much better with the ball at his feet, and that gives him a big advantage. So I don't see why Sinisalo would be coming in over Schmeichel. Alistair Johnson, another one that's had a really good season, a really good 12 months, really, for club and country. I expect him to be at right back, and I expect the American partnership of Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. The left back was the interesting one. The whole news about potential return for Kieran Tierney has resulted in some heavy rumours about Alex Valle going to Como, but from what I understand, from what I've read online, Celtic will not be terminating Valle's loan while the Champions League games are still on, because they wouldn't be able to register Tierney for the final two games, and they want backup at left back. I don't see Vi starting though with all that unrest surrounding him. Of course, there's unrest around Greg Taylor as well, out of contract in the summer, linked with like a move away to Dinamo Zagreb. So there's that. However, I do believe that Brendan Rodgers will go for Greg Taylor in this game. Midfield three, it's a point of contention for some that I've seen online. A lot of people would like to see Bernardo starting and even McCowan starting. I do think that he will go for the best midfield three on paper, though. Callum McGregor, obviously the captain, he's kind of nailed on to start. And then Arne Engels, I think he's come onto a game in recent weeks. He's putting up the numbers as well. Obviously, goals-wise, it's coming from the penalty spot most of the time. But he's also got 9 assists and 4 of them came in the League Cup on their own. I think he's got 3 assists in the Champions League. So he's pretty nailed on to start for me. It's Hatate that's the point of contention. When he's at his best, I think he's the best Celtic midfielder. But sometimes he's not been at his best. Of course, he scored that third goal against Leipzig to seal that win. I do think he'll start with them. I wouldn't be surprised to see both Bernardo and McCowan, though, in the game, coming in for Engels and Hatate at some point. The front three kind of picks itself, really. You've got Nicholas Kuhn, who's been Celtic's player of the season so far. I don't think there's any real debate about that. He's basically coming up with a goal contribution per game, which is a very good return. Daisen Maeda's having his best season in a Celtic shirt, I'd say, as well. He's scoring goals for fun across all competitions and is Celtic's top goal scorer in the Champions League as well. And Kyogo, I mean, there is some people that would rather go for Adam Ida. I just think Kyogo's got that quality and he's actually been playing quite well in the games I've seen him play recently. So I think that is going to be the Celtic starting 11 to face young boys. Again, you could see the likes of up top, probably if I was a betting man, I'd go for Adam Ida and Yang to be the replacements up top at some point. However, there could be a bit of rotation for maybe some players that have been picking up a knock at times. You could see Tony Ralston come in for Alistair Johnson, Liam Scales come in for either of the back two, and Alex Vai, of course, come in for Greg Taylor. Now on to the next game. So, arguably the bigger tie of the two, even though it's in the lesser of the competition. The whole Battle of Britain thing will go on for it. I'm sure the same thing will be done for Celtic versus Aston Villa on the final day of the Champions League as well. We have Manchester United versus Rangers. The game, of course, set to be played at Old Trafford. Now, you've got the betting there as Manchester United are heavy favourites going into the game, but I think for Rangers, there's not really a better time to play Manchester United than at the moment. I could see it's a tough one. If this one was at Ibrox, I think I'd be more comfortable in saying that this was a Rangers win. But with Rangers away form this season, that being said, they of course did go away to Malmo and get a good result. They went away to Nice and got a good result. So their away form in Europe's not been as bad as their away form domestically. Manchester United's home form domestically has not been great, and they haven't really lit the world on fire in the Europa League this season either. I'm going to go conservative, and I'm going to go for a entertaining 2-2 draw in this game. For Scottish football, of course, I'd more than love to see a Rangers win here, especially given the fact that it's an English team that they're playing against. A win for either team would probably secure a top 8 spot, I would imagine, especially with Rangers having arguably their easiest tie on paper from when the draw was made still to come in the last match day. So a win for either would probably secure that top 8 position. So we'll see how that one ends up, but it's definitely the more tasty tie than of the two Scottish clubs this time around. Let's go to the Rangers predicted 11. So I've gone for this for Rangers based off of who they've got registered for Europe and who isn't registered for Europe as well, and injury problems that they've got at the moment. So I've gone for Liam Kelly in goals. I haven't seen any real updates. This could be outdated by the time this goes up, of course. I haven't seen any real updates on Jack Butland and whether or not he's coming back from injury just yet. So I think Liam Kelly will continue in goals. I think Tavernier, of course, he came off the bench against Aberdeen. and then he played at the weekend against Fraserburgh, so I think he is going to start as the right back and, of course, captain in this game. I think he, as much as Rangers fans have taken to that new centre back in Ciala, I do think, I don't even know if he's registered for Europe. I do know that these two are, though. Leon Balogun and Robin Proper, I think, will be the two that he's going to go for. Again, Balogun came back from a wee injury just at the weekend there. So I do believe that they two will be the starting centre backs, and Jeffrey will start at left back. There's every chance that Conor Barron might not start, and Diamande might start there, and he might start Jeffrey or Yilmaz further forward, and by Rami in the middle. But I have gone for Raskin and Barron as the kind of holding midfielders, and Diamande is the 10 just in front of them because Hadji is not registered for European competition. Cherny, of course, out on the right. Bajrami is going to be out on the left, and I think Egeman will start up top. I don't see him going for Dessers despite his hat-trick against Fraserburgh. I'd be surprised to see him starting in this game. But I do believe that that is going to be the Rangers lineup. I think, there's not as many points of contention as there are in the Celtic one because there's people playing well in lots of different positions for Celtic across the whole season. And with Rangers, unfortunately, with how their season's gone, there's not a lot of competition in place for spaces. You would say that most of the team picks itself. Which can be a good thing if you've got really good players in all the positions and they can't get dislodged, but it can be a bad thing if you don't have the depth there to be able to compete with the starting 11. I personally would rather have a lot of competition for places, but that's just me personally. So that is the predictions for not just the results but the lineups for tonight's and tomorrow's big European fixtures for Celtic and Rangers. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe and catch out the other channel content. I uploaded the next episode of the SPFL RTG just yesterday. If you want to give that a wee watch, that would be much appreciated, and I'll catch you guys later on.